Inflation is something that touches everyone, from the rising cost of groceries to the price of rent and utilities. It affects families across the globe. But while the middle and working class feel the sting of traditional inflation, another phenomenon is quietly reshaping our world: the hyperinflation of the hyper-wealthy. This isn't about a few millionaires becoming billionaires. It's about an unprecedented surge of wealth accumulating in the hands of an increasingly small elite. Wealth that grows faster than economies, outpaces innovation, and ultimately threatens the very fabric of global society. Let's go back a few decades. In the 1980s, during the rise of neoliberal economics, deregulation and tax cuts were introduced under the belief that a rising tide would lift all boats. Globalization expanded, trade flourished, and capital moved across borders faster than ever before. But the benefits weren't distributed evenly. Incomes for top executives soared, while the wages of average workers stagnated. The seeds of modern inequality were planted, and they have now grown into a global crisis. According to Credit Suisse and the World Inequality Lab, the world's top 1% now owns more than 47% of all global wealth. Meanwhile, the bottom 50% owns just 2%. This isn't just inequality, it's extreme concentration. In 2023 alone, over 700 new billionaires were added to the global list. In stark contrast, over 70 million people slipped below the poverty line. And this wealth isn't just sitting in bank accounts. It's being used to buy media companies, influence elections, control resources, and shape narratives. One of the primary engines behind this hyper-wealth inflation is the stock market. Unlike wages, which are taxed as income, capital gains from investments are taxed at lower rates, or sometimes not at all, especially when routed through offshore tax havens. Billionaires have learned how to leverage debt against their own assets, allowing them to borrow money without selling shares, and therefore avoid paying taxes. This strategy allows them to live lavishly while technically showing little to no income. And yes, this is legal. To understand the scale of this imbalance, consider this. In 2023, Elon Musk added over $130 billion to his net worth in just 12 months. That's over $10 billion per month, or $333 million per day, or roughly $3,800 every second. While that was happening, more than 800 million people around the world struggled with food insecurity, and over 1.6 billion had no access to adequate housing. This explosion in wealth isn't just about individuals, it's about systems. Private equity firms, hedge funds, and massive asset managers like BlackRock and Vanguard control trillions of dollars in capital. These firms now hold significant stakes in the companies we use daily: Google, Amazon, Meta, Apple. Their decisions affect what we see, buy, and believe. They influence supply chains, labor conditions, and even climate policy. Yet they operate largely in the shadows, accountable only to a small circle of shareholders. Meanwhile, the average worker is told to save more or invest smartly, often with little access to financial literacy or secure investment vehicles. The reality? The ladder of upward mobility is being pulled away. Real wages, when adjusted for inflation, have remained nearly flat for the average worker in the US and many other developed nations since the 1970s. Healthcare costs rise. Education becomes unaffordable. Housing is out of reach for many first-time buyers. And the dream of economic security feels more distant than ever. So how do the hyper-wealthy respond to all this? They build their own worlds. Private islands, underground bunkers, personalized medical teams, climate-resistant estates, access to experimental medicine and anti-aging treatments. These are not luxuries, they are escape plans. Because deep down, even they know the system is unsustainable. Let's not forget the role of politics. Many of the world's richest individuals and corporations spend millions lobbying for favorable tax laws, deregulation, and weak labor protections. In the US alone, lobbying is a $4 billion industry. It's not just about campaign donations, it's about writing the laws themselves. There's a reason why corporate tax rates have fallen in most countries, and why wealth taxes are resisted so fiercely. The wealthy aren't just protecting their assets, they're shaping the rules of the game. And yet, the illusion is maintained. We're told that if we just work harder, we can succeed too. But in reality, the playing field is anything but level. Legacy admissions, access to elite networks, exclusive investment opportunities, and generational wealth ensure that the rich stay rich, and often get richer, without having to do much at all. Meanwhile, the average person works 2 or even 3 jobs just to survive. Even more alarming is the psychological impact of this disparity. Studies now show that growing inequality leads to increased rates of depression, anxiety, crime, and social unrest. People lose faith in institutions. They begin to distrust their governments, their neighbors, and even themselves. Societies become polarized, and dangerous ideologies take root. It's no coincidence that political extremism and populism are on the rise across the globe. But it doesn't have to be this way. The purpose of this video is not to demonize the wealthy, but to highlight a broken system that rewards concentration over contribution, exploitation over innovation, and short-term gain over long-term stability. There are solutions: wealth taxes, stronger corporate accountability, closing offshore loopholes, fair wages, universal health care, and access to quality education. These aren't radical ideas. They are common-sense policies that can restore balance and trust in society. We must also shift our cultural values. We've glorified billionaires as geniuses, disruptors, and heroes. But real heroes are often the people we overlook: teachers, nurses, scientists, farmers, engineers, and everyday workers. The ones who build the world but rarely get credit for it. The hyperinflation of the hyper-wealthy is the defining economic story of our time. But it's also a story about choice. Do we want to live in a world where 10 people own more than half the population combined? Or do we want a system that values fairness, dignity, and shared progress? The answer will define the future, not just for the next generation, but for all of humanity. This is your world, this is your economy, and this is your moment. Speak up, stay informed, demand better, because the power to change the system lies not in the hands of the few, but in the collective will of the many.